All right, so let's review the lower beginner first React challenge of the bootcamp. So first things first. Actually, can I go mobile? Let me see if it works, guys. Maybe, who knows? We'll see. Let's see if that's usable enough. Otherwise, I'll go back to desktop. So the first thing is, oh, that's a bit weird. The first thing is to, get used to the syntax of React. So what you can see here is obviously different to what you're already playing with in JavaScript. In JavaScript, it was very easy to grasp. You get a function, and then you have to return something. Here, as you can see, is way more complicated. But that complexity is here because of a reason. Here, we are using a proper testing library. We will see through the next weeks how to test your applications. We'll run, if I'm right, 2 testing workshops. And here, we are using a framework to test your application. So this is real unit test, TDD-based testing platform. Yeah? And the way to read it is, first of all, you get the title of the test, welcome displays a welcome message to Peter. Yeah? So we explain the expectations. And then, look, we are, just to keep this long story short, compiling a welcome component. So then, when we check the text that the welcome component returns, it's expected to be welcome to React Peter. Why Peter and not Mary? Because we are passing Peter as an argument. Do you remember yesterday we talked about passing props, passing attributes? So that's pretty much what you are expecting to build here. So on the right-hand side, you see, welcome to React, comma, and then let me move my face out of the options list. So, welcome to React, and then what? A, B, C, or D, and why? Why D? Yep, so we... Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Look, so we receive the props, right? So if we want to access a variable called Peter, that will be under props dot what? User, correct. Props dot user. So that doesn't make sense, out. That doesn't make sense, out. And now, in between props dot user and curly braces props dot user. So for instance, fish. Which one do you think is the right one and why? Is D, correct. Because remember, when we want to interpolate, when we want to display a variable, we have to surround it with curly braces, yeah? So let's mark it and see if we got confetti or not. Yes, we do get confetti. Yeah? Any questions? No? All right. So question number 2. What we got here? Display an input text with dynamic data. So in this particular scenario, we start talking about user interaction with inputs. Yesterday, we created a button. Here, we're talking about input text. So within that component called text with capital T, we are expected to have we're passing 2 properties. Value, so that's the text that you get into the input, and placeholder. Does anyone know what the placeholder means? Correct. Correct. That's the default grayed out text that you get into inputs before start typing anything. Yeah. So that's what we're passing to the component, and then essentially, even if it's the first time you came across that syntax, so what we're expecting is that the actual input. Look, you are expected to create input type text. Do you know any other type of input apart from text?
Name.
Which one?
Name.
Wrong.
Strings.
What? Number, yeah, that's correct. Sometimes you get an input and you can only enter numbers, yeah? How many sexual relationships you had last year? This is a number, right? What else? Email, correct. You can only type emails, that's fine. Password, yeah. So there are 4 or 5, there are a few, yeah? Yeah, some. Which one? Checkbox, that's correct. Yeah, when you accept the terms and conditions, yeah, to give your soul to Facebook, all these things. All right, so input type text, that's the basic, yeah, yes, free text. All right, so on the right-hand side, as you can see, the input component has been partially created for us. You know the idea, right? We got the placeholder, and now, so what's the attribute that will display the value into the input? What's the right option? A, B, C, or D? D. All right, so what do you think, guys? Is it D again? So once again, we got props. So we need to access props.value. So that means that doesn't make any sense. A doesn't make any sense. And now between B and D. So the way you create an attribute is first you declare the key, whatever it is, and then you assign a value. In here, there is, you know, that the structure is missing. So then clearly we should mark option D. Will we get confetti? Yes. Any questions? No? So we do one more and then jump to the beginner level. So question number 3. Basketball star displays Michael Jordan details. So we're building a component that will essentially display the first and last name of a given basketball star. In this particular case, I think it's even easier. We are not passing any props. So that text looks like it's going to be hard-coded. Yep. So let's talk about styling. How do you define a style class in React? A, B, C, or D? B. Is it B or D? B, because React is case sensitive. And then, how do we complete the line? How do we declare a style for the last name? A, B, C, or D? Say it again, Octavian?
Same as for the first name.
So, do you think it's B? Oh.
No.
B, C.
It's A.
Oh, A, B, or C, right? Someone is thinking it's. So, what's the difference between A and B? It's just the close syntax symbol, you see? If I mark this one and I test it, will it work? No. It doesn't work because we are not closing the div, you see? That's the only subtle but important difference. And once we mark option A, then it works. Any questions? No? All right, so that was lower beginner. Let me quickly jump to the beginner level where some of you struggle a bit. So let's do 2 or 3 questions once again. Let's spend 10-15 minutes dealing with that. So what we got today, question number 1. Once again, let me try to go back to mobile mode. So let me see if it works. That's too big, right? I need to zoom it out a bit. Let me see. I need to refresh. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So, yeah, I can zoom it even a bit more, right? I think that's readable enough. All right. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. So, what we got here? Look, we got a list of actors. How many props are we passing? 1, that's correct. Yes, a list of names, but this is 1 props. What's the type of the names prop? Object? Wrong. It's an array. It's an array of 3 elements, at least in the first scenario. Yeah. All right. So we receive a list of 3 elements, and then look. Can you see that given when then? So that's a common practice in BDD. We will talk about TDD, BDD, and all these sort of things. That's a classic way of structuring your test to make it as much readable as possible. Technically speaking, thanks to that structure, even non-technical person like business analysts, they should be able to understand the code looking at the test. Never happened. But anyway, that's what the theory said, right? So actors named Arnold, Sylvester, and Steven. And then when we find all the p tags, you remember what a p tag is? A paragraph. So let's find all the paragraph, and then that line says, all right, we are expected to have 3 paragraphs in the component. Yeah. On the first one, the text should be Arnold. On the second one, Sylvester. And the third one, Steven. That test is super important. Super, super, super important. Because it introduces the idea of map. So map is arguably the most important method in JavaScript when talking about arrays. So map takes a list of elements, A, B, C, and it returns a new list of the same size. It transforms each element individually. So for instance, how do you transform ABC in small letters into ABC in capital letters? Map is your friend. Okay? It's like a machine. Input, one element. Output, that element transformed somehow. In this particular case, map takes a list of names, a list of a string, and then name, which is the individual actor, is a string. We take that as the input, and as the output, we return a piece of HTML. That's the way we can display 3 paragraphs. And once again, please pay attention to the naming conventions. Product names map, we call that name because that points to each individual actor. Yeah? Imagine that we could add a breakpoint here. Do you remember breakpoints? So we had a breakpoint in this line. Can you tell me how many times the breakpoint will stop here? That's correct, 3, because we got 3 actors. If we got 10 actors, it will stop 10 times, 1 for each actor. All right, so now, what type of data name is? String, that's a string. So how do we display that string on the screen? Can I do that? Let's see what happened. Second?
It's like a
Oh, once again, is name a JavaScript variable? Yes, it is. What do we have to do when we want to refer to JavaScript variables inside of React? Curly braces, yeah? You see, even if it's complicated, at least it's the same thing again and again and again. That won't work. That won't work. Look, expected name, you see, to equal Arnold. So we are explicitly telling you that, hey, you return name, name, name. We are not interpolating that correctly because we need the curly braces, if that makes any sense.
We understand the key.
The key, that's a good point. Let me go back to the key in a second. Yeah, so now that's okay. The key, that's one of the oddities of React. Every time you create a map, like this one, you have to give an attribute, a weird attribute called key. Why is that? Because if you don't give the key, it may work. It may work. But if you check DevTools, React will vomit an error, or a warning at least, like, hey, Mr. or Miss Developer, you're using map, please give a key. And why React needs that? That's a bit off topic, but React needs an attribute called key in order to be able to identify each element on the list. If at some point you want to, for instance, reorder the elements alphabetically or following any sort of criteria, React won't be able to redisplay the list without the keys. Yeah? So you just have to provide a key, and what's the value associated to that key? Whatever is unique. Yeah? Something that helps React to understand what is the first element, what is the second element, and what is the third element. That's pretty much it. I'm not even going to review the code because, I mean, it's impossible to solve that problem following any different order. Any questions? No? All right, so question number 3. President displays details for Bill Clinton. We got the president component, and how many props the president component is expecting? 2, the first and the last name. Easy, right? 2 strings, nothing exotic, nothing surprising. And then what? So then, can anybody tell me what sort of search are we performing here? Correct. We are looking for an element with class name, look at the dot, like CSS, yeah, with class name, first name. So what should be the text, the value associated to that tag? Well, should be the text first name, colon, Bill. And pretty much the same thing with the last name, I believe, yeah? I hope so. All right, so on the right-hand side, oh, that's a piece of cake, right? Because the component has been partially created. So, can anybody tell me how do I access the first name provided by the test? Props.firstname. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you see, it's the same thing again, and again. Props.firstname, and likewise, props.lastname, like that. Correct. Camel case. Oops. Last name. Oh, I can do it. Last name. Yeah. And that's it. Any questions? Let's test it. Confetti time, right? So it's pretty simple. So let's do one more. Question number 3. So we got here, evaluate challenge results. Ooh. Challenge results displays a keep training message when the average results are below 50. So imagine that you are practicing on the platform and these are your last scores. So we want to build a new feature that tells you how good you are dealing with that particular technology. So if your last scores were 34, 54, 34, and 23, the average is clearly below 50. You agree with me? Cool. So if the average score of your last training exercise is below 50, we want to present you a message, keep training. If, however, the average score is at least 50, then the message is well done. Yeah? So that's pretty much what the test is asking us to do. All right, so look, interestingly enough, our component already has a getAverage function, you see? But do we really care about what's going on here? Not really, not really. So the component is already giving you the function to determine the average score. So that's easy. And then look at the structure. Return div, and that's a ternary operator. We talked about that yesterday, you remember? With the question mark and the colon. So that's pretty much it. So if something is true, then, you remember the syntax? Then return that. Else, return that. React really likes to play with this pattern, yeah, of the ternary operator. Condition, then true. Return that. Else, return something else. So, guys, what's the condition here? Score is above 50. Like that? And the other way around? So, first, so wait a minute. So let's go bit by bit. So first of all, that syntax is not right. That's the character we use here to specify conditions in our functions. But whenever you want to use maths, greater or equal, is on the other way around. That's the first thing. Okay? That's the first thing. But still, look, if we test that, that will throw an error somewhere. Because a score, where is that coming from? You just made that up, right? We don't have any variable called score. Get average, correct. So look, we got a function that is giving us the score. If we call the function, that will return a number, hopefully, between 0 and 100 or whatever the average is, right? So based on that, can we call that function from here? Can we do that? Like that? This dot? Oh, wait. Oh, wait. So Anita changed her mind quickly. So get average. Anything else? Parentheses. Guys, remember that in order to call a function, we need to do that. Without the parentheses, the function is never invoked, it's never executed. Yep. Yep. Question mark. Look at what Kaini is suggesting. Kaini slept really well tonight, right? How many hours? 9? 9 hours. Fantastic. We are over yellows. So Kaini is suggesting that here we need to add a question mark. What do you think, guys? Is it right or not? Yeah, that's right. That's right, Kaini. Yeah. So in JavaScript, remember, thanks to the question mark, then we have, if the condition is true, then return that. Else, if it's falsy, return that.
So why did you include true?
Say it again?
Why did you include true?
So you want me to put here true? No.
Include.
Include.
What question mark? Like the normal syntax. True and question.
So you want me to do that? Oh, you want to add equal true?
No equal, just true and question mark.
True and question mark, like that.
The same syntax you just read,
Yeah.
but includes true and question mark.
Includes. You want me to type includes? No, I do worry. I mean, we should be able to explain the problems, right? And if I'm unable to understand what you are telling me, then we cannot communicate. So let's try to understand that. So you want me to type includes?
Just write true.
Just write true, like that.
Yeah.
Okay, like that. Okay, cool. You see, at least now we understood each other. All right. So that syntax doesn't really make sense, Fish. That will give a syntax error because the condition, that's the condition. Get average is greater or equal than 50. That will return either true or false, yeah? If I tell you, is 4 greater than 3? I mean, that's or true or false, right? There is nothing in between. So that's the same thing. That syntax doesn't make sense. The true will be returned if the average is greater or equal to 50. If not, it will return false. So can I do that?
Yeah.
Will that work? Do you think that will work, Andrea? All right, let's test it. Fish disagree with you.
It's not working in the exercise, but it doesn't make errors.
Yeah, but look, if we return true, expected well done to equal keep training. In other words, we are telling the user well done all the time, regardless of what his or her score is, right? Because true is true. So that condition will be always returned, will be always satisfied. And likewise, if I return false, what do you think our component will always return? Keep training, yeah? So now it doesn't matter how good you are with JavaScript. It will work on the first case, you see, because the first case out of coincidence returns keep training. But on the second one, even though your scores are really good, our message is still keep training. That's not correct. So we definitely need to do something like that.
It's not just greater than 50?
Say it again?
It's not just greater than 50?
I don't know. That's a good question, Andrea. Is greater or greater than equal? Let's read the docs. Greater equal. Yeah. I mean, probably in this particular case, that will work. Because with this particular example, the average, sorry, not this one, the one at the bottom, clearly the average is not going to be exactly 50. So it will work. But if you ever do that, what you're proving is, first, you solve the problem, that's okay, but you didn't read instructions. Yeah? So that's why it's important to look after these tiny details. So let's see if it works. Confetti, yes, confetti time. All right, any questions? No? Cool, so
Would you be able to do the last challenge for this?
the last one, all right? Yeah, we can do the last one. So that was question number 5. This is 4.
Because we've got prompts without the...
Purchase dance club tickets. This one?
Yes.
Yeah, that.
Okay, cool. So let's read it. Club tickets allow the user to buy tickets when he or she is at least 18 years old. Cool. So, how many props are we passing to the club tickets component? 1. What's the type of that variable? It's an object. That's right. That's right. All right. So we're passing an object, and if the user is at least 18 years old, that the person can buy the tickets for Fabric. If not, then we want to, oh no, sorry, it's more complex than that. So if it's above 18 years old, at least 18 years old, good. If it's below 18 years old, but he wants to buy tickets for the afternoon session, which is supposed to be alcohol and drug-free, then still okay. But if he's less than 18 and wants to go to the hard party at night, then the system should not allow that person to buy the tickets. That's the high-level idea, right? So then, right, let's think about that. So first of all, purchase. So purchase means either user is at least 18 or wants to buy tickets for the teenager session. According to the system, if you are 71 years old, you can attend a teenager's party, which is a bit creepy. But anyway, that goes beyond the scope of coding. So, thinking about coding, so first of all, how do we know if the user is at least 18 years old? Well, we can do props dot what? Correct? User dot what? Age, correct? Curly braces. Do you think, guys, we need curly braces here? JSX. Yeah, curly braces only apply when they are inside of HTML, inside of JSX. Here, do you see any, do we have any div, any paragraph? No, so then no curly braces at all. So, if user is above 18 years old, then that's okay. Yeah? Then else. If we're below 18 years old, is there any possibility to buy tickets? What's that option, Kaini? Correct, if the session is afternoon. So how do we evaluate that? Props dot what? User dot session. Is session? Let me have a look. Yeah, session triple equal. Oh, that's weird. We don't have a space here, right? Oh, you cannot type here. Is that the problem you have? Oh, that's weird. That's usually that's a bug in the system, right? I mean, technically speaking, you can fix it, but yeah, that shouldn't be like that, right? Props dot user dot session equal. And question mark, yes, well done, guys. I didn't know that, so thanks for letting me know. We'll fix that today. Yeah. So that's a bit weird because you cannot see the right-hand side of the test. So whenever that happens, please let us know, and we'll make this placeholder longer. Yeah. Cool. Any questions? No? So the complexity associated to this exercise, apart from that nasty thingy, is that we got a nested if-else. You see? If that is true, then do whatever. Else, if that is true, do whatever. Else is if, else, if, else. Okay? It's a bit more complicated. Yeah? At some point, to me, that will stop being readable because it takes a while to really understand the flow. That's why if your conditions are complex enough, personally, I will write if, else, if. That will be more readable to me, personally.
I think here, Ricardo, just to complete a bit, I think the first, on the return line, I think first is checking if it's an afternoon session, and I think afterwards it's checking if it's 18 years.
That's the same, right? You can, essentially, you can change that. I mean, you can, and actually, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Florian. Yeah, that's a fantastic question, actually. So the reason why that looks so weird is because probably when we thought about that, we did it on the other way around. So we first check, let me show you. So that's what we did, right? So we first check if the session was afternoon, and then we check if props.user.age. Oops. That's why it more or less works in that way, right? But again, you can change them. You can change them. So that's essentially wrong. We need to make this placeholder larger.
It should work, I think, because in the first
Yeah.
try,
Yeah.
there's no session in the props.
That's a good point. No, but it should work because look, yeah. So what Andre is suggesting is a valid question actually. So Andre is suggesting that it shouldn't work because on the first case we don't have a session. What happened, guys? If we don't have any session, he's right. What will props.user.session return if we don't have any session? Undefined. No, it's not undefined. That will be sorry. That's not an error. It will be undefined. On the first case, undefined. Is undefined equals to afternoon? No, no problem at all. We jump to the next condition. What's props.user.age on the first example? $18. Eh? Is 18 greater or equal than 18? Yes, 18 is greater or equal to 18, right? So that's why it will return purchase. In other words, that should work. I mean, let's have a look. Oh,
Because the first one you're adding user as well, you just props.session because you're trying to find it.
no. Just no, foreign. So that's right. No. So foreign is wrong. So even if we are passing the session, we always have the user. So it's always props.user. The problem is, as Alex spotted, because I copy and pasted, I forgot the question mark, right? There is a question mark here on the right-hand side that you cannot see that. You see it works.
If it doesn't find a prop on the variable, it's automatically undefined.
If it fails finding the session, that will be undefined. Yes, that's correct. Which is fine. Undefined. Is undefined equals to afternoon? No. It will jump to the next condition. Anything else, guys? No? Guys, we have 5 minutes, so let me do at least one question on the upper beginner. Yeah, on the upper beginner, we have to essentially do a bit of coding, yeah, or more coding than usual. All right, so let me try to join that once again in mobile mode. So, actually, that's the same question we've done before, right? So let me skip that, and then welcome to React. That's very simple. We can do this one. I mean, considering actually pretty much nobody did upper beginner, let's do a very simple question. So, what we got here? We got a welcome component, and we are looking for how many paragraphs the welcome component has, and we expect to have 2 paragraphs. On the first one, the message will be welcome. On the second one, the text will be to React. Yeah? That's pretty much it. I mean, that's trivial, right? So the only thing we have to do is to add a new tag and type to React. And be careful with the case. Yeah? Let me check. To React is correctly written. To React. That's correct. Yeah? And that's it. I mean, that was pretty simple. So let me see if it works. Yes, it works, right? Any question? There's one more, right? That was very simple. So the next one, we've done this one with Michael Jordan as well. So let's do one more. That's a good question. Let's do this one, and then we'll leave it here. Look, user displays name and age details. So in other words, how many props our user component receives? Wrong. 1. Yeah, just the user. You see? User. And what type of data user is? Object, correct. With 2 properties, the name and the age. Yeah? And then look, this is a bit more complicated. Our test is looking for what? A class name detail, and whenever it finds it, it will find for what? So look, it's expecting to find 2 details, you see? Details to have length 2. We expect to have like 2 details. On the first detail, we will display the name of the user, Peter. On the second detail, we will display his age. And the complexity of this exercise is object.keys. Does anyone know what object.keys does? So if I show you user Peter age 31 or 32, what will object.keys return? But what type of data is that?
User name.
An array, correct. It will return an array with the keys as strings, user, comma, age. Oh, sorry, that's what, yeah. So that's what object.keys does. Yeah. So then, what we are doing here is, object.keys, give me the keys. So here we got that, user and age, and then using map, we will iterate over each key. So if I add a breakpoint on this line, how many times the browser will stop here? 2, that's correct. On the first stop, key will be user. On the second iteration, key will be age. Yeah, that's the way it works. So now, look at the syntax, which is a bit tricky. So, what we want to return is, first of all, the key, that will be name or age. We got it already, you see? Because key is user, actually that wasn't user. To make it precise, that will be name. Yeah? So the first key will be the name, colon, and now that's the complex, oh sorry, I'm typing nowhere. So how do we display, that's a question on JavaScript beginner objects. So in JavaScript beginner, let me present you that. I know I'm talking about many things and that could be a bit complicated. So if my object is user with name Peter, how do you get now the name of the user? Well, you can do user.name. Yeah? That will return the name of the user, Peter. But there is an alternative. In JavaScript, once again, this is, you can find that on the third question on JavaScript beginner objects. In JavaScript, you can also do that. That's valid syntax in JavaScript. Why this is useful? Because I can get the property I want to access from a variable. So I can do that. I can do let key equals name. And then here, I can simply type user of key. Yeah, that, once again, takes a while to get used to that, but please do JavaScript beginner to understand it. And then once again, so that's the problem we got here. We have the key, yeah, so we got that already. So now we need to build something like that. So, first of all, what's the object that contains the information we're looking for? User, like that? So, props.user, right? I agree with Andrea. Sorry, I don't know why VS Code is moving me down. So props.user, right? So that's the object. That's props.user. But now, how do we access the key? Square bracket, correct, Florin. Square bracket. And now, what? Key, that's correct, Octavian. Okay? That's the syntax. That's the tricky, weird syntax. Thanks to what you can essentially dynamically refer to any property or the other. Yeah? That's a bit complicated. Let me admit that. But that's the way it works. Why is not .name? All right. Because what happens if I put .name here? Look, if I hard code .name, it will try to access a property name. It will be okay on the first case because the name out of coincidence, the variable is called name, but on the second one, it won't work. Look, that one works, but here, look, details equal age31. And look, expected age Peter, because we are accessing the name, to equal age31. Okay? Likewise, if we do user.age, and if we test that, it will fail on the first scenario. Name Peter, what are we returning instead of name Peter? Age? No, we're returning name 31. Yeah? So, once again, we need to dynamically refer to one variable or the other. Yeah? Once again, this is one of the most complicated questions on upper beginner. Don't worry too much if you didn't understood that. At the end of the day, all the other questions are much simpler than this one. And if you really want to understand that one, once again, refer to JavaScript beginner objects, question number 3. Yeah, Anita? Yes. Right. I'm going to leave that question open. I'm not going to give you the answer because I want you to figure out, but the question itself is really good. So remember, if our user is name Peter, age 21, Peter is getting younger, by the way. So now object.keys user will return what? Name and age, like that? An array of name, comma, age, like that? Are you sure? That won't work. You are missing something important. So can anybody find where the typo, sorry, is here, and it's not the semicolon, by the way? Giyun? That's correct, Giyun is right. Remember, we return an array of strings. So that's important, guys, because when you have to communicate, you need to be precise with your instructions. So if you tell me it returns name and key, I will display name and key. Or if I'm in a good mood, I'll do name, comma, key. Yeah, but that's not right. And then you will say curly braces. Right? Square braces. Where is square braces? So the way to describe this, object.keys returns an array of with the keys represented as strings. A comma-separated list of strings representing the keys of the object. Yeah? That's the way you can describe that. But now, let me change the problem. What if I change object.keys with object.values? What will that return? An array of? The values Peter and 21. That's correct. Yeah? So you can get either an array of keys or an array of values. What Anita is asking is whether we can solve this problem using object.values. And I'm not going to answer that question. I want you to experiment a bit with it. Anything else? No? All right, guys. So that was it from my side. Thank you for watching.